Welcome to a world where economists are scratching their heads. A world where low unemployment rates seem to defy traditional economic theories. Yes, you heard it right. We're living in a time where the unemployment rate is at an all-time low, yet inflation hasn't skyrocketed as one would expect. This is what's known as the Phillips curve model, a concept that predicts an inverse relationship between unemployment and inflation. In other words, when unemployment is low, inflation should be high. But that's not what we're seeing today. Inflation has decreased, yet unemployment hasn't shot up. It's a puzzle that has economists around the world stumped. And while some factors like wage inflation remain relatively steady, it's not enough to crack the code. So what's the catch? Well, that's what we're here to unravel. Let's take a step back and revisit the Phillips curve, shall we? It's time to dust off those old economic textbooks. The Phillips curve is a concept that economists have been grappling with for decades. It's a simple yet profound idea that suggests an inverse relationship between the level of unemployment and the rate of inflation. In other words, when unemployment is high, inflation is generally low and vice versa. But here's where it gets a bit tricky. The Phillips curve was originally based on the relationship between wage inflation and unemployment, not price inflation. Wage inflation refers to the rate at which the average level of wages in an economy increases. Now let's look at the current economic landscape. We're seeing a somewhat unusual situation where inflation has decreased without a significant increase in unemployment. This seems to contradict the Phillips curve model, doesn't it? Well, not quite. While price inflation has indeed fallen, wage inflation has only slightly decreased and has been averaging around 4% for the past 17 months. That's above the level needed to meet the Federal Reserve's 2% price inflation target. So even though there's been a slight downward trend in wage inflation since August 2022, it's been a very gradual one. Therefore, there was no reason to expect a significant rise in unemployment based on falling inflation. What we're seeing then is a situation where unemployment has remained low, but wage inflation has not decreased much. This may seem perplexing, but it's a reminder that economic models, like the Phillips curve, can't always perfectly predict real-world outcomes. Interesting, isn't it? But wait, there's more to this story. Now let's talk about wage inflation. It's more than just numbers on a paycheck. Wage inflation is a crucial economic concept that refers to the rate at which the average worker's salary is rising. Since August 2022, wage inflation has slightly decreased, but not so much as to cause a significant increase in unemployment. This might seem surprising, as traditional economic theories often link lower inflation with higher unemployment. But here's the twist. While wage inflation has been decreasing, it's been doing so at a very gradual pace. This slow decrease has allowed for adjustments in the economy that prevent a sudden surge in unemployment. It's like applying brakes on a speeding car. A gradual slowdown is much safer than an abrupt halt. Now let's bring the Federal Reserve into the picture. The Fed has a price inflation target of 2%. This is the rate at which they would like to see prices for goods and services increase, as it signals a healthy economy. However, the current wage inflation, averaging around 4% for the past 17 months, is still above this level. This means that wages are rising faster than prices for goods and services. So what does this mean for us? On one hand, it's good news. Higher wages mean more purchasing power for workers. But on the other hand, if wage inflation remains high, it could lead to an overheated economy. This, in turn, could result in higher price inflation, which would erode the purchasing power those wage increases were supposed to provide. So, with all these factors at play, one might wonder, what's the forecast for 2024? Looking ahead, the economic crystal ball shows some interesting predictions. As we navigate the waters of 2024, there's a shared hope for slower nominal wage growth. This is what economists call a soft landing, a scenario where the economy slows just enough to prevent overheating, but not enough to cause a recession. However, not everyone is on board with this optimistic outlook. Enter Gaudy Egertson, a prominent economist who believes we're still a long way from that coveted soft landing. His viewpoint stands in stark contrast to Janet Yellen's, the former Federal Reserve Chair, who seems more positive about our economic trajectory. These differing perspectives highlight the complexity of economic forecasting. It's a delicate balancing act, trying to slow wage growth without causing a spike in unemployment or a significant slowdown in the economy. That's a wrap for today's intriguing economic puzzle. Remember, the world of economics is full of surprises. So stay tuned, stay curious, and don't forget to subscribe for more mind-bending economic insights. Until next time.